The wildfires, though, that are tearing through the southeast, dozens of new fires breaking out overnight.
Dozens of homes destroyed as well, evacuations ordered, and a state of emergency declared. Ginger standing by, tracking the critical alerts fueled by this extreme drought, the worst for Florida in 25 years. Matt River starts us off in Georgia. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, George. A very busy morning here at the command post in Brantley County, Georgia, as officials do whatever they can to try and get on top of these raging fires. This morning, fires exploding in the southeast as a state of emergency is declared in Georgia. 34 new fires reported overnight as residents race to escape, some forced to turn around facing a wall of fire. Firefighters battling the blaze from the ground and the air.
I will be very honest with you and say it's a miracle that we have not had any lives lost.
Thousands forced to evacuate because of the Highway 82 fire after the massive wildfire exploded in size, consuming more than 50 homes and nearly 5,000 acres.
We started gathering stuff in one location, taking stuff off the wall, pictures and things we can't replace.
The fast-moving fire started earlier this week, growing exponentially in just hours along the highway. The fire here in Brantley County exploded incredibly quickly. You can see there's still hot spots back there. This is what's left of a mobile home completely destroyed by this fire. Dozens of people forced to flee with nothing to come back to.
Everything around me has burnt.
Adam Edwards lives just across the street. His house just barely spared after he was able to wave down fire trucks racing by.
Within 30 minutes of me being home, it went from everything being peaceful to what you see today.
So what's going through your mind? Because your house is right to our left here.
All I could do was pray.
And just over the state line in Jacksonville, crews still battling that massive railroad fire, which authorities say has now claimed nearly 4,000 acres of land. The fire danger extending all the way to the southern end of the state near the Everglades. Now, these fires are being fueled in part by some of the worst drought conditions that we've seen in this part of the country in the last several decades, and unfortunately no rain until likely the weekend. Robin?
That is so unfortunate. All right, Matt, thank you. And Ginger, you have the forecast for that zone?
Yeah, he said it. I mean, we've been watching this drought develop and been fearful of just what's happening now, but it's not just the flames. The smoke is going to be reaching all the way to places like Atlanta, where they have an air quality alert this morning for ozone plus the wildfire smoke, and they're not alone either. The air quality alerts are up to orange up in South Carolina from Charleston back to Augusta. And you want to know that there's still elevated fire danger for most of the state of Georgia into North Florida, including Lake City, because of how dry it is. But I wanted to put on the smoke here so you can see it's not just for Georgia, even parts of Alabama, South Carolina, but by tomorrow, even North Carolina could start to see some of that smoke in their air. So keep an eye on that smoke because that impacts people and especially those with respiratory issues. I do want to mention that this drought didn't come out of nowhere. We've been telling you about it for the last 4 months or so, because if you look at the extreme, almost 70% of the state of Georgia is in extreme drought. You go back to January 1st, only 1% was in that or higher. There's also drought expanding in the west, and that's where we find critical fire danger from North Dakota to New Mexico, George.
Okay, Ginger, thanks. We're going to get the latest now on the war with Iran. Overnight, Pete Hegseth fired the Navy secretary as Iran attacked ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. continued to blockade Iranian ports, causing oil prices to climb even more. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz tracking it all. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has fired dozens of senior leaders since he took office, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to the Chief of Staff of the Army, and now even in the middle of massive naval operations in the Strait of Hormuz, firing the Secretary of the Navy.
It was sudden, unexpected, and came without explanation. Navy Secretary John Phelan fired. A Pentagon statement on X saying that Phelan is departing the administration effective immediately, adding, "We wish him well in future endeavors." Phelan is a civilian political appointee, but there had been clashes with Hegseth in recent months. Hegseth's latest unexplained firing of a top Pentagon official comes as thousands of Navy personnel are blocking the Strait of Hormuz in a standoff with Iran now firing on 3 commercial ships and seizing 2 trying to transit the waterway. On Wednesday, Iranian state media releasing this dramatic footage showing an Iranian speedboat roaring towards a massive container ship with masked Iranian Revolutionary Guard, then boarding the ship, climbing up to the deck with long guns drawn and searching every compartment and cabin. The White House downplaying this clear act of defiance during what is supposed to be a ceasefire.
Does the president view that as a violation of the ceasefire?
No, because these were not U.S. ships. These were not Israeli ships. These were two international vessels.
Today, despite the president's repeated threats to reopen the strait, cargo ships and tankers clustered outside the Strait of Hormuz, unable to pass. This morning, Iran saying they have collected and deposited the first toll in the strait and vowed to board more ships. An officer on one tanker tells us they won't move without safety guarantees. We've altered his voice to protect his identity.
If there is no insurance covering us loaded tankers to cross the strait, we will never cross the strait.
And overnight, U.S. forces seizing a ship suspected of carrying oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. The second seizure this week. American helicopters seen hovering over the vessel with troops rappelling down to the deck. Iran's Speaker of the Parliament posting this statement that a complete ceasefire only makes sense if it is not violated by the maritime blockade and the hostage-taking of the world's economy. At the same time, the regime displaying some of the missiles that remain in its arsenal. It comes amid news of a sobering message to Congress from the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, despite President Trump's insistence that most of Iran's missiles and drones are gone. Marine Lieutenant General James Adams telling lawmakers Iran retains thousands of missiles and one-way attack drones that can threaten U.S. and partner forces throughout the region. All of these developments this morning, a clear indication that the U.S. and the Iranians are nowhere near a long-term deal, and there is no end in sight for the standoff in the Strait. But Hegseth has named a temporary replacement for the Secretary of the Navy, George. He is the current Undersecretary of the Navy, George.
And as you pointed out, Martha, Hegseth has fired a series of top officials and officers.
Absolutely, George. Dozens of them from when he started, and many of them are black officers and women, and some right in the middle of the war. George.
Martha Raddatz, thanks very much, Robin.
And George, for more on where things stand with the ceasefire and the outlook for peace talks, let's bring in our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, there at the White House. Good morning to you, Rachel.
Robin, good morning to you. Look, President Trump says there is no deadline or time frame for Iran to make a deal and come to the table. This as negotiations fell apart just days ago with the vice president scheduled to leave for Pakistan. Sources tell me that Iranian officials simply went dark. The White House insists there are deep fractures within the current Iranian leadership, and the president is looking for a more unified response. As of now, there are no scheduled negotiations on the books. We're now in the 8th week of this war, and a new poll out this morning from Marquette Law School shows Americans are deeply dissatisfied. 68% disapprove of the war in Iran. 68% also disapprove of the economy, which was a core issue that President Trump ran on. We know so many Americans across the country are seeing gas prices increase with the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, and President Trump brushing off any concerns that he wants all of this to end because of the midterms, saying that's just simply not true, George.
Rachel Scott, thanks for getting the latest on Spirit Airlines. As the company faces bankruptcy, the White House is considering a bailout to keep the airline flying. Elizabeth Schultz is at Reagan National Airport with the story. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, George. This would be a massive lifeline for Spirit Airlines. A source familiar with the matter tells ABC News that the Trump administration is nearing a deal to rescue the bankrupt budget air carrier. Sources say this deal could be announced as soon as today, but details aren't final. We are told it could include a loan of up to $500 million from the federal government, plus the option for the government to take a major stake in the company. The White House press secretary says this is something that the Commerce Department and the president are tracking. But the possibility of a bailout is sparking bipartisan backlash. Republican Senator Ted Cruz posted, "This is an absolutely terrible idea. The government doesn't know a damn thing about running a failed budget airline." Spirit has filed for bankruptcy twice. It does risk imminently shutting down as it struggles to pay for soaring jet fuel costs from the Iran war. A rescue would mean that Spirit's thousands of employees do stay on the job for now. Spirit's not commenting on this deal. It does say that flights are operating as usual. Guests can book travel, use credits and points. And if you already have a ticket booked, at least for right now, it's still on track, Robin.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you for your reporting on this. We're going to turn now to the latest on FBI Director Kash Patel, responding to a report from the New York Times claiming that the FBI started investigating their correspondent who was reporting on Patel's girlfriend. Our Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas is tracking the latest there in D.C. Good morning, Pierre.
Robin, good morning. The New York Times is out with a story that says the FBI initiated an investigation of one of its reporters after that reporter did an unflattering story about the use of FBI personnel to protect Kash Patel's girlfriend. The Times saying the inquiry was stopped only after DOJ officials raised objections and indicated that there was no evidence of a crime. A spokesperson for the FBI is calling the story false. He says there was no investigation, but that there was a death threat against Patel's girlfriend, and that the suspect in the case allegedly alluded to the New York Times article. The official acknowledged that agents did ask Patel's girlfriend about the New York Times reporter. He says the agents were concerned about whether the reporter's, quote, aggressive reporting techniques crossed the lines of stalking. The spokesperson said no further action was taken. All this comes within days of Patel filing a $250 million lawsuit against The Atlantic magazine, claiming a story alleging that he has a drinking problem that affects his work is false and defamatory. The Atlantic says it stands by its story. George.
Pierre Thomas, thanks. Return now to a chemical incident at an industrial plant in West Virginia. 2 workers were killed, at least 19 others injured. Stephanie Ramos here with the story. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, George. Good morning, everyone. A toxic chemical leak at a West Virginia plant has left 2 people dead and dozens hurt. Officials say the incident happened Wednesday at the Catalyst Refiners facility that's west of Charleston, as workers were preparing to shut down part of the plant. Emergency crews say a chemical reaction involving nitric acid triggered what they describe as a violent release of gas. Around 30 people were taken to the hospital, including 7 first responders, with at least 1 person in serious condition. Authorities say the cause remains under investigation, guys.
Know what happened there?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Just a deadly mess.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Now to a daring cliffside rescue when a family got stuck as the tide quickly came in, and what happened when they realized that an aerial helicopter rescue was not possible.
Yeah, wait till you see the video because it's going to explain the whole thing, Robin. And it was really a wild setup. So 4 adults and 3 children were walking along the shoreline when the tide starts rushing in, really, cutting off any exits any way they could get out. So they decided to look around and then climbed up the cliff. Well, they could only get so far up the cliff, so they ended up having to wait for help. And it took more than 3 hours for rescuers to be lowered down that cliff to pluck them off that cliff one by one.
This morning, a perilous cliffside rescue caught on camera as 7 tourists, including 3 children, cling to the side of a cliff in Australia as waves crash into the rocks below. Authorities say 2 families had been hiking along the coastline about 4 hours south of Sydney when the tide quickly came in. They climbed up to get away from the water, but became pinned along the rocky edge. Rescuers racing to the scene, including a helicopter. But rescuers realized the wind blast or rotor wash of the chopper could blow the hikers right off the cliff and into the water.
Likely just to blow the people off the cliff face into the water.
Peter Collins, the local commander for the State Emergency Service in New South Wales, leading the rescue from the top of the cliff.
I walked up there and saw the 7 people, and the waves were almost huge waves, almost breaking over them. You know, I could instantly tell, this is going to be a very serious situation.
His team immediately preparing for a grueling 3-hour vertical rescue, pulling the hikers one by one off the 40 meters up jagged cliffside, starting with the youngest girl who was on the verge of hypothermia.
When we were hauling them up the cliff face, they were very white-knuckled and hanging on for dear life, but they were very glad to get to the top.
Hanging on for dear life, and it was a serious situation. So imagine hanging there for 3 hours waiting for someone to get to you and your children, but everyone was pulled to safety. Officials saying that if the waves had been just a foot higher, guys, the whole group would have been swept away into the rough water that you saw right there.
They're okay.
So very grateful. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Big night in the NBA playoffs. Larry's got the action.
Nothing scary about this, guys. All right, good morning to you. The Detroit Pistons, they're the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, so it was a surprise when the last place seed Orlando Magic beat them in Game 1, while the Pistons were not going to let that happen again in Game 2. The game was tied at halftime, and the Pistons looked like they had enough, exploding in the third quarter, outscoring the Magic by 22 points. Detroit star Cade Cunningham Cunningham leading the way with 27. The Pistons went on to win 98-83 to tie the series at 1 game apiece as it heads to Orlando. Now to the Western Conference. It was the top seed and defending champions Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the Phoenix Suns, and superstar SGA leading the way for the Thunder, putting up 37 points in the 120-107 victory. OKC has a 2-0 lead heading to Phoenix. They now have won 10 conference first-round games. The only gray cloud for the Thunder was star Jalen Williams. He had to leave the game in the third with a hamstring injury. Ooh. But the fun continues, guys. We've got 3 more games on the schedule tonight, starting with the Knicks in Atlanta for Game 3 against the Hawks. It's fun.
It's going to be a late night for a lot of folks.
Indeed.
Thank you, Lara.
Okay.